2 years ago today, House Minority Whip Steve Scalise suffered a life-threatening wound when a gunman opened fire during a practice for the congressional baseball game. The Louisiana congressman was hit in the left hip by a rifle bullet. He spent 20 days in intensive care and nearly 6 weeks in the hospital. His book, Back in the Game, One Gunman, Countless Heroes, and the Fight for My Life, tells the story of the shooting. It's now available in paperback, and Congressman Scalise is here with us first on CTM. Congressman, good morning. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
It's great to see you. Let me start with remarks from the president that we just reported on, that the president said he'd listen to dirt on a political opponent offered by a foreign government. Is that acceptable, in your view, is that acceptable from a president or from any candidate, for that matter?
Well, it was a hypothetical. In the end, if something like that was actually presented to his desk, I'm sure things would be different. And I've seen him respond both to hypotheticals and then act differently as he's presented actual facts. And so when you talk about this, I know he used Norway as an example, but in the end, it was a hypothetical.
What would you do in that circumstance? What would you do in that circumstance, Congressman?
Well, I think clearly, when you talk about interference of foreign governments, we've been fighting against that for a long time. And you've seen even this administration, the Trump administration, has been very aggressive at punishing Russia for what they did try to do to interfere with our elections. And I think that needs to be pointed out, because President Trump's taken very aggressive actions against Russia for what they did, as well as taken steps to make sure it doesn't happen in the 2020 election, because it did happen in the 2016 election when Barack Obama was
president. The right answer would be call the FBI?
Well, calling the FBI, calling authorities would be absolutely something I would do. But in the end, if you look at this, it's why I don't, when you're posed with hypothetical questions, let's talk about real world examples. And again, the president's been very aggressive against Russia in the things that they actually did in 2016.
I just want to talk briefly about the trade war with China and its impact on Louisiana, because we spoke with our affiliate WFAB that's spoken to some of the farmers down in your home state about this. They're saying it's having a devastating impact. What do you say to your constituents there?
Well, what I say is, first of all of our allies around the world have been wanting us to stand up to China, because everybody knows what China does to cheat on rules, to steal our intellectual property. It surely hurts Louisiana companies that I talk to when they try to do business with China, and China's stealing a lot of their intellectual property, like they steal so many things from companies all over this country. And so having an aggressive negotiation with China, if it yields an agreement where you can actually enforce those rules of the game, it would be a big win for Louisiana, for the entire United States economy, and for our friends around the world.
We've been reporting all this morning on the attack on 2 tankers in the Middle East, Congressman, and Iran's role there. Are you concerned that we're inching closer to war with Iran at this point?
Well, without speculating on where this goes, we need to know what Iran's been doing for a long time. And again, the fact that we've been stepping up aggressive actions to stand up to what Iran's doing, both to try to develop nuclear weapons, which I surely don't want to see them have. A lot of our allies don't want to see them have, but also...
What does this escalation here indicate to you? I mean, David Martin said that the U.S. is calling this compelling evidence.
Well, it shows you what Iran is capable of doing. We know that they help terrorist organizations like Hamas and Hezbollah. They're almost proxies for each other. They are proxies. But in the end, the fact that we've been standing up to Iran, that a lot of our allies want us to stand up to Iran, Israel, our best ally in that whole region and one of our best in the world, is very concerned about Iran getting a nuclear weapon. And this just shows you why you don't want a nuclear-armed Iran.
Your book is in part about healing political division, so I just want to get you on the record on one major division in politics, and that's about climate change. Louisiana, according to researchers, falling into the Gulf of Mexico at about a football field per hour. So do you accept the science of man-made climate change? And if so, where's the plan to address it?
Well, first of all, the reason that Louisiana loses a football field of land every single hour,
scientists say it's
I know you'd ask the question. Right. Louisiana does lose a football field of land every hour because of coastal erosion, which is an important problem.
Sea level rise.
That is dealt primarily because we hardened off the Mississippi River. Sediment used to come down from the entire country.
We can debate this for hours.
To build it.
The scientists have agreed that climate change is a catastrophic risk. Do you have a plan, as some other members of your party are beginning to address it?
I've got a plan. First of all, we do know that the Earth's temperature changes. It goes up and down.
So you don't accept the science?
In the 1970s, they said we were entering a new cooling period.
That's not what the scientists are saying today.
So let me tell you what we're
doing.
doing. Let me tell you what we're doing in Louisiana. We're actually taking revenues from drilling in the Gulf of Mexico and using that to rebuild land, to rebuild our coast, what was lost from cardoning off the Mississippi River. And it's, I think, a real important step to show how people can actually take ownership of the problem that they have in their own community.
So to save your constituents from climate change, you're drilling more in the Gulf of Mexico?
Well, the money from drilling is actually being used to help rebuild land.
Okay.
It's real. Right. You should go see it. I'll invite you out there.
I've seen it, actually.
Let's talk about the book and
Thanks.
your comeback and what you learned from this process. You talk about forgiveness. How are you forgiving in the man who shot you?
Yeah, you know, the book's about really the heroes and the miracles that all were at place that day 2 years ago on that baseball field, the heroes that saved my life and everybody on the ball field, David Bailey and Crystal Griner, the two Capitol police officers, so many other police officers that were there that day, people like Brad Wenstrup, heroes that saved our lives, but also the miracles that really kept people from making it through that day. In terms of forgiveness, Michelle, this has been something I've struggled with as a Catholic because I do want to get to a point where I can truly forgive the shooter. I've talked to a lot of people. In fact, it was in Opelousas, Louisiana, one of the churches that was burned down just a few weeks ago, a historically black church that was targeted and burned down, one of three that was. And I met with the pastor of one of those churches, the Mount Pleasant Baptist Church, and Reverend Tucson. He talked to me about forgiveness, and he said the first thing he did when he found out who the arsonist was that burned his church down was that he forgave him. And it was powerful to me, and I talked to him about it, and we're going to talk some more. I'd hope to get there.
Congressman Scalise, it's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful message. I will see you on the Louisiana coast if you'll have me.
I would love to have you down there, and you'll eat some great food, but you'll see how we're using drilling revenues to rebuild real land out there in these marshes.
I want to see it. Thank you very much.
Michelle, it's great to see you again. You know you will.
Thanks for being here.